Okay, so the story of King Bharat. Well, so after Yati went back, there was several kings, and we get to a king called Dushyanta, and he had gone. He wanted to meet some sages and get some wisdom, but he also was he was a pretty macho king guy. So he was hunting, and then on the way, while he's out hunting, then he'll meet some sages in the ashram. So he, was going through the countryside and killing tigers and rhinos and different animals, and he was heading out to Kapila Ashram, which it's was filled. So he gets to the place, and it's filled with different kinds of people, and they're all living together. It said some were astrologers, some people did Agnihotra, some people did yoga, some people did karma, some people did bhakti. Everyone was just kind of living together. But that's what it was. It was, hermitage. And so all these different people, and no one was getting in each other's business about it either. They were all coexisting because it's the way it should be. And everyone was just kind of doing their thing. And he was looking around. He was looking for a particular sage. And he got there. And this sage was a renunciate. And so he just kind of was expecting to see the sage. And a beautiful girl comes to the door. And he's like, "Who are you? I didn't know that the sage had a daughter, had a wife, or who are you?" She said, "Oh no, I'm his daughter." And he said, I thought he was a renunciate. I didn't know he." She said, "Oh, well, I'll explain what happened." So I said, "My name is Shakuntala, and I'm actually the daughter of Brahmarishi Vishwamitra. What happened was he was doing tapasya, and Indra kind of got like scared of the sage because the people do tapasya and then they can kick him off of his throne. So Indra was like, So he sent Menaka, and Menaka was dancing and enticing the sage, and then he was like, oh, then he fell in love with her, and he used all his mystic powers to make himself look young and handsome, and because that's part of the reason that they lose their all mystic powers. And then he would make because he had so much power, he would make it look more stars in the heaven and another moon, so it would be more bright, and just different, make his hermitage into a palace of gold and different stuff. That was his power. He was so powerful he could do all that stuff, but it drains your tapasya, to do that. So he was with her for 1,000 years, but for him it seemed like a day. and then and then she got pregnant. And then he realized, oh man, it was kind of this is one of those sad stories. Because what happened was he was like, I can't be a grihasta, I'm a sage. I'm trying to do tapasya so I can be the equal of Vishwamitra. You messed up my whole plan. And Menaka is, and this is almost a miracle that she got pregnant. You never really hear of Apsaras getting pregnant. It's not really part of the show. And so, what happened was they're not really used to it, and so she just kind of left the baby and ran away. She didn't really want the baby either, so she just kind of left it. And then Vishwamitra, he is like, oh man. I can't take care of a baby and be a sage. So he found there's this other sage, and he gave him the baby girl, and that's Shakuntala. So Shakuntala, explained his story, So Dushyanta, he's looking at her, and I mean, first of all, her father is this great, powerful rishi, right? And then her mother is, Apsara. So you can imagine how beautiful this girl is. She's like breathtaking. And so he's like smitten, instantly. And because Kshatriyas, they don't really. Their power isn't words; it's in their action. So basically, he was like, "Would you want to marry me?" Like that's just he just said it. He's a king, He doesn't like joke around with it. He's just like looks at her in the eyes and is like, "My dear, are you married?" And she said, "No, no." He said, "Would you marry me? I am a king of the Chandra dynasty, and I will take care of you, and you will be my queen, and our son will become the heir apparent." And she's like, "Oh wow," from living in a hut to living in a palace. I mean, she's an Apsara. I mean, she's the daughter of an Apsara, and the Brahmin life didn't really, fit her. So she was like, well, I'm not my own master, even though he's my adopted father, he's still my father, so I must get his permission. And then Dushyanta, he was like, don't worry, I'll take care of you. I'll give you, we can do the Gandharva Vivaha right now. And so she said, okay. And then her father came, and Dushyanta was like, I gotta go and get back to my palace. But he didn't take her with her. Didn't take her with him. And so he said, I'll send for you later. So then, her father had gone meditating somewhere. So sometime later he returned, and because, these sages, they have powers, and I guess he could tell too. He said, oh, what have you done? And he wasn't mad at her. I mean, she explained the whole situation, but he's like, these men, they can say a lot of things, but it doesn't mean that they're gonna mean what they say. So, but he took care of her. I mean, she was there, and he took care of her, and the community took care of her. They weren't mean, they weren't like rude or anything. So they took care of her, and she had a son from the time that she spent with Dushyanta. And he was powerful. Baby came out, he was just so strong that when he was a small baby, like 2 or 3 years old, he would kill like big animals, like scary animals. Because the sages, this was a big problem in those days. Because, nowadays we live in relative, like, we're the dominant, thing out there. But in those days, there's tons of tigers, wild elephants, rhinos, bears. All these things were living in the jungles then. And they were a big problem because there was tons and tons of them. They'd come in and either eat all your food or stomp you or eat you or, scary things. So even though he was a small child, he would beat them up because he was so strong. So basically, even though the thing is that even though Vishwamitra was kind of far away, he still kind of watched over her. That's something that needs to be said. And so what happened was, after the boy was about 6 years old, Dushyanta still hadn't come. So they said, you should go to his palace, and bring his child. And so Shakuntala came there with Bharat. That was the boy. His name was Bharat. And so he brought Bharat and Shakuntala, and there's some rishis and some of the wives of the rishis, and they presented her to the king, and the king was like, oh, I don't recall saying these things, and that's quite the claim, and he was like, backing off a little bit. Now, something to take note of is that the society saying someone is an heir apparent is a big statement because they're going to be the ruler of the whole planet, you know. So you can't just say it willy nilly. You know what I mean? But so he was kind of backing off because this is kind of an intense story. You know what I mean? He's kind of like, first of all, she got like rejected as a small, orphan, and then she meets this guy and he gives her a baby, and then he's like, I don't want to have nothing to do with you, and it's like she started to cry, and the baby ran up and he was grabbing his father's knee, and then she said, you're so hard-hearted, and she started to, walk away. And then this voice from the sky came. And some people think it might have been Vishwamitra. Because, it's his daughter, and he's this powerful force, And he said, this is truly your son, and he is to be the heir apparent, and all these different things like that. And then everybody, because this kind of had to happen in order for Bharat to be accepted as the heir apparent. So there's some drama here. And so Bharat was made the heir apparent, and Shakuntala was with Shantanu for the rest of the time, and she was very happy. But she had such a hard life in the beginning. And that happens, The world is like heavy. It can be a pretty heavy place. But she did get that thing that she really wanted, in the end. And so, if I remember correctly, Vishwamitra actually came and benedicted Bharat, that the whole planet shall be called Bharata Loka, Bharatvarsha, after you. So that's quite because Bharat was such a great and powerful personality. So yeah, that's